Hello everybody, are we even recording? We probably are. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, nice to see you again. We're back in the fish room and we're talking about a tank that was freed up because of the last few videos. This is Brian's tank. In the last couple of videos we moved him in here with some of his other buddies, which has freed up a tank. And I'm kind of racing to get it set up because I want to get it running for a little while before we think about putting fish in it. And that's this tank here. It's the 5-foot tank that Brian was previously in. It's an old tank now. It's been patched and it's hanging together, but it's perfectly watertight and it's a good size. I really like the size of this tank. It's kind of a manageable big tank. So I like it, and I'm going to do something with this tank that I've never done before. It's going to be a new fish with some different requirements that I don't normally have to deal with, so I just want to get things ready and make sure it's doing everything I expect it to do before we get fish in. The fish are coming in a few days time, so I just want to get it up and running. If I talk a little bit about tank prep filtration wise, a return is being made by my favourite filters, the Temu box filters. I'm keeping it simple, so we're just going to have a couple of pumps in here which will feed these filters and filter the water and keep everything nice and clean. I've spent the majority of the day cleaning this out. There's a little bit of dregs and drabs of old sand and stuff, but that's fine for what we're planning to do. I'm going to get the main scape, so to speak, sorted out, and then we'll move on with that. Some other things that are going on as well. It's just such a mess. Anytime you move around big tanks, as I've been doing for the past couple of weeks, I just leave a trail of destruction. But I've also changed this tank over here. This is Michelle Dweller This is Michelle Dweller tank. It's been upgraded basically, so I've swapped out what was there for this much longer 80cm tank. It's a lot shallower. I'm just in the middle of filling it up, that's why it's only half full at the moment. Because the shellies, they don't really need a tall tank, so I've got that sorted out, and it just gives them a lot more space, because one of the fish that I'm going to get in this latest order is some more of these guys. That one there went a bit murdery and killed. I had a group of 6 and there's 2 left. I'm assuming it was that one there, but whatever reason, they're gone. So I'm going to add a couple more. I've got some more coming, so I've expanded the size of the tank, and that can sort them out. So come back, hit that subscribe button, and we'll do a video especially on these guys. But for now, we're going to concentrate on this tank. So I've said it's a species I've never kept before, so some will say this is a recurring theme on this channel, is I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to be keeping some African cichlids. We talked about it on my live streams. Come and join me on my live streams if you haven't already, about what I could do with this tank and various suggestions, but I do like doing things I've never done before. Because as much as it's great keeping the fish I know lots about, the ones that I don't know about, I enjoy learning about it. So we're going to do some smaller, more peaceful, I know there's no such thing as a peaceful African cichlid, some more peaceful, smaller mbuna. So it's going to be an mbuna tank. I've tried to do what everyone should do when they're thinking about getting a new fish, is doing lots of research, getting on the internet, finding out what it is. African cichlids has been a thing. I don't know what it is. There's a block in my brain, something's just not, a wall that we can't get past. I cannot seem to figure out how to do this. So we're just going to do this. So this is very much do as I say, not as I do, because this is the wrong way to do this. I've read forum posts, watched videos, I've read books even about how to set this up. My fundamental question is, how many should I get? So I've had advice from people like Juggler, one of my viewers, said, well, whatever you do, get less than you think and only get a few species. I don't know how many I think. Should I get 100? Yes, probably get less. Should I get 5? Ooh, is that not? None of the guides I could find said this is how you start a tank. So I have got, well, you'll see them when they come in. We'll keep that bit for later. in terms of requirements for keeping them, that bit's fairly straightforward. They like a little bit harder water, a little bit higher pH than I've got, so I'm going to run some crushed coral in my filters. I don't really like the idea of chasing parameters, so it's going to be what it's going to be, and that's why I want to get this running for a few days, just so I can see what it comes out at. They want slightly higher pH, they want lots of hidey spaces, and good filtration. So that bit of it is fairly simple. A nice vegetable heavy diet. We can do all those kind of things. So I'm going to get this scaped as much as it's going to be scaped. It's just going to be a hardscape. I am going to try plants. I've heard they can do quite well with some of the hardier plants like your anubiases and your java ferns and vals and things like that. So we've got a few of them. We'll try that out as well and see if that works. So if nothing else, if this turns into an abject failure, you'll learn what not to do. But rocks first. So much like the last video where I used the big rocks in Brian's new tank, we're going to use a similar technique of getting some of these grids down before we add substrate, just to give a bit of stability for the main big rocks at the bottom. I'm going to start with a row of larger rocks and then add smaller rocks on top around to give lots of little caves and hidey holes. I'm going to try not to drop the rocks and smash the tank before we get started, because that would be bad. So this is just going to be my base to get me started. I'm not really thinking too much here, other than trying to get something that doesn't look like a 1980s chimney, as someone said in my last video. So that's my kind of base layer of rocks. So now I want to add some substrate, bed that in, and then I'll build up some more smaller rocks on top and maybe fill it out a little bit. I've gone for a mix of types of rock just because I don't want it to be all one kind, and then when I run out and get a different type of rock, it just looks completely weird. So we're going to have all different types of rock, all different colours, sharper edges, rounded edges, just so as it looks not natural, because it's not going to look natural like that unless they're all rounded, but it looks less jarring if it's all round rocks and one big square one, or vice versa. I have an idea. Let me finish it and we'll see what it looks like. This isn't a sponsored video or anything, but the sand that I've got is from a company called TM Aquatics that I always seem to end up using. Again, I didn't realise I was using them until I just looked at the invoice there. But it's essentially a pool filter sand type deal, natural aquarium sand. I was expecting it to be a lot lighter than this, to be fair. It looked whiter on the picture. I was going for a more whitey thing, but we work with what we've got, and this is what we've got, so this is what we work with. It is what it is. I'm sure it'll be fine. We'll see. We'll see how it looks. I'm not washing it because who's got time for washing sand? It does look lighter once it's in there, actually. Yeah, might be right. Might be all right. Right, I've got 2 of these big 25 kilo sacks. I do intend to use most of it, if not all of it, but right now I'm just trying to get it in and amongst this base layer of rocks so I can see what I'm working with. I do want to get a fairly thick layer, because these fish do have a reputation for burrowing sometimes. So I want to be able to ensure I can give them the opportunity if that's what they want to do. Right, that's what we've ended up with. I mean, it's kind of what I was going for. I'm calling it the beautiful mess approach, where there's just a little bit of everything. But functionally, there's lots of sand, there's lots of caves, lots of swim-throughs. Everything has passed the Shugel test, so I get in there and if I shake them around, nothing collapses. So that should be good enough. The bigger, more damage-causing rocks are all on the bottom, so they can't fall anywhere, really. The only one that could possibly fall is that one, but it's properly held in. So I might add to it. I might want a little bit more height with some bigger, flatter rocks maybe, but for now that's enough to get this up and running and see what we're dealing with water parameter wise. So time to fill and get the filtration running. Oh, let me show you this. So I've got two of these filters, and that's what's going to filter the tank, and obviously you just have a hose connected to something that pumps it into the top and it filters through. We showed them before. I will put a link in the video up there to show you how these filters work. But I'm very much going on budget for this build because I've spent a lot of money recently. Thank you, Brian. So I'm using these as my pumps because I've got them and because they'll work. The intake for this is at the bottom. That's just going to suck up all the sand, so I had to think of a better way to do this, and my better way, or what I could think of, was to use some 3D printed stuff. So I've 3D printed a base that this will sit on, and then a box that will go on top, clips into place, and then the hose will go down. So the outlet's here, that will come back up here into there. Ta-da! So there's no gaps at the bottom, the gaps are only at the top. Plenty of water can get in, but it won't suck up loads of sand, and it just looks a bit neater than having the pump sat there. I could hide this under rocks and stuff, but I'm not that bothered about it. It'll just sit nice and neat in the corner. That's what we've ended up with, which kind of works, but Idiot Features here printed it with a low infill, so of course it floats, so I've had to use a rock on top of it. I mean, it's a proof of concept. I can redo a better one, a better fit, but yeah, the idea works. It's a bit floaty, so it'll do for now. We'll sort that out in due course, but yeah, kind of happy with it. It works well enough. I've buried it into the sand a little bit. It's kind of, well, once I get it to stop floating, it should be kind of unobtrusive. It'll just be like a box that sits in the corner, like over there. You probably can't even see. Why are we so bright? So you probably can't even see the box over there. It's just the rock that's sitting on top of it. Oh, and by the way, I've added some plants. So this is what the scape looks like. I told you earlier we had the kind of messy, on purpose, by accident look. There's loads of little swim throughs, loads of little crevices, but I've filled some of the crevices with some plants. And as you can probably tell, we've gone for Anubias of various descriptions and Java fern, because they are quite tough, hardy, and if anything can survive these fish, it will be them. So it's a bit of a trial. I had these from one of the other tanks I broke down from the last couple of videos, so we'll see how we get on with them. I do like a planted tank, so if possible I want to have one. So as I say, I do like a planted tank, and I'm starting to get everything looking a little bit nicer, so I've put this again. It's just temporary. I didn't have enough floorboards to do this again with this one, but well, I might have. We need to work on that, but I've just covered up the stand on that one. And like I say, this tank over here, Brian's tank, or Briansville as we're calling it, it doesn't have any plants. So this is my hardscape tank, and I do like it, but I don't want too many of them. So it would be good if the new tank would support some plants, or the new fish will anyway. But what do we think? I'm starting to get this looking a little bit nicer. So I've got my office area there, that tank there. I've got some flooring down now as well, which makes it a little bit nicer. And yeah, from here back, it's actually quite good. In the other direction, some tidying to be done still, but we're getting there. But more importantly, look what has arrived. So now we come to the fish unboxing part of the video. Always an exciting time for me. I don't know how you feel about it, but we've got a bunch of fish today, not just for me. So there's a couple of fish in here. Good friend Phil from Elite Logos has ordered, so I'm sure he won't mind me sharing with you. If we have a look at what we've got. So first off, we've got 25 rummy nose tetras, Hemigrammus blairi, just to make up some of the stock from Megatank 2 that my black ghost knife fish gobbled up. So we'll just get them in there and warming. Lamprologus ocellatus. So this is the shell dwellers to make up my collection of shellies. I can only see 2 or 3, 4. How many is there meant to be? I don't know. 4. There is meant to be 4, and there is 4, so that's good. We'll get them in there. We have a red cover, so this is the one I suggested to Phil. I really like a red cover, and that looks really good. Red melon, I think. Oh no, another red cover. Looking nice. Another red cover. So it's got 3 red covers. Another Turk. And a red melon. So I think this was the one he was after. He really likes a red melon. Something is leaking. But all fish appear to be alive and healthy, discus wise. Yeah, we're looking good. So then we're on to my mbuna. So, first one here, we've got some this is always the fun bit. Melanochromis cyanabarabbis. Them. Melanochromis cyanabarabbis. Abdus. Cyanabarabbis. Melanochromis cyanabarabbis. I'm probably murdering that. But really quite coloured up. Water's quite cold, but they are curled up. I'm just going to get them floating. Next we have, I think these are the Selosii, Pseudotropheus selosii. All alive and well. I've got 6 of them, 5 of them, 5 of them. Again, everything's quite cold, so I'm just going to get it in heating up. And last but not least, the kind of poster boy for mbuna yellow labs. Labidochromis carelis. Again, having travelled so far, they're still pretty well coloured up and looking good. Active, which is always nice to see, but again, cold, so we're going to get them in and get them warming. Which leaves us just with all the discus now, which are all Phil's fish. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 Turks, 3 red covers, and 1 red melon. All looking okay, but cold. So I'm going to leave them in here, which will warm up. Might throw in an extra heat pack, but I'll just leave them to warm up because Phil's coming to collect these in an hour or so. So we should be good there. So there you go, I've got 3 different varieties of mbuna to start me off. I've got 5 each of the Selosii and the unpronounceable ones, and 6 of the yellow labs. I don't know if that's too many or too little. As I've said before, I don't know what I'm doing. I couldn't find any information about how many to add. So, if there's one thing I've learned on YouTube over the years, if you don't know something, make a video about it and everyone will come and tell you all about it. So get down in the comments, tell me how right or wrong I am, whether this is a bad idea, whether this is doomed to failure. By the time you see this, has everything already died? We shall see. As always, click subscribe though, because I will show you the updates, good or bad. If nothing else, you can learn from my mistakes or my accidental successes. But we're going to get them up to temperature. I'm normally a plop and drop type guy, and I don't like acclimatizing or acclimating fish with the drip method, but I have a suspicion that the pH levels will be different. And that is one of the things that a pH shock can be a bit of a thing, so we want to avoid that where possible. So I'm going to measure the levels and see what the difference is. If the difference is big, significant, I will just do a bit of a drip acclimatize them with drip acclimation. You know what I mean. I'm going to drip water in until it balances out to give them a bit more of a gentle introduction into the tank. I usually do the plop and drop because often I feel, especially when they've travelled far distance, just opening the bag and all that oxygen rushing in can have a big swing in ammonia levels and things like that. So I will do a lot of care with this, because I don't like doing the drip that thing. Why can I not say that? But like I say, I want to make sure we get the pH right. And often when people talk about pH swings and things like that, even a pH of 7 versus 8 is a significant enough difference that I want to make sure that we're dealing with it a little bit. The pH scale isn't, oh, it's only one off, it's logarithmic, so that's actually quite a big deal. I have added crushed coral to this tank to bring the pH up a little bit. I don't want to advise you how much to add, because it's really going to be different for every person. My water is relatively neutral, so I don't really need to do much to get it to go up a little bit. And again, I don't really want to be adding buffers and things like that. I just, crushed coral, that's a one and done. That'll just keep things, and if it does move or swing, it'll move slowly over time. So we'll see how we go on. Come back and we'll see some fishies. So there was a slight difference in pH from the water in the bag and the water in the tank. So it's difficult to tell, because as soon as you introduce air into the bags, it alters the water chemistry straight away. So I tried to get some water out without introducing any air, and that's what the results are, which to me say it's around about it's in between 6.6 and 6.8, and then the water on the tank on the right is 7, maybe pushing 7.2. So I've spent the last half hour or so just taking a little bit of water out, adding a little bit of tank water every few minutes, and repeating that. And I mean, so far they seem fine with it, but I'll just keep doing that for a wee while, and then we'll get them in the tank. So now I'm just emptying them straight into the wasp. So again, now I'm just emptying them straight into the tank, because I've changed enough water out of these bags that it's now completely the tank water, so I'm not emptying the dirty water into the tank as such. And even if I was, these are the only fish in here, so it's the water that they're used to. So the yellow labs are in, the blues are in. Now we do the Psilocy, Pseudotropheus psilocy. I like saying that. Again, I'm just giving them time to find their own way out. So I've got 6 of the yellow labs and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 each of the others. Oh, looks like we might have one DOA. I did not notice that one. Yeah, looks like one didn't make it. Yeah, unfortunately we've lost one of the Pseudotropheus. It wasn't dead when it arrived, so it must have been during my acclimatization. It just didn't pull through. So, sucks, but that is the sad reality sometimes. Anyway, so I mentioned I got groups of these, but I've bought these from a wholesaler rather than from a pet shop. So some of the advice I did find when I was looking for it was to get a certain ratio of males to females. If you want just bright colours, usually you go for the males. If you want to avoid breeding, just get the males. If you want to breed, get a certain ratio of males to females. But I just got to choose a number, so I'm kind of hoping that it will all work out. I'm hoping that I've got enough size, enough cover for all of them. If there is any aggression or is any breeding, they have enough space to be able to carve out little bits of territory for themselves. Certainly while we've got this smaller number. I mean, there's a little bit of mixing going on already, but I'm just going to have to play it by ear and see what happens. Ultimately, I would love it if they bred like, what was the phrase that was used? Rabbits on Viagra, I think somebody said. Because I do like seeing baby fish regularly, but we'll see what happens. I'm just going to leave them now to settle in, and we'll check them out in a little while. So while we wait for them to settle in, let's have a look at the shellies. These are fantastic little fish, really social, personable, Right at the moment, they're just kind of going around going, can I live here? No, beat it. Hopefully, because I've upgraded this tank, made it a little bit bigger, they'll all have plenty of space to find homes, and ideally get a little bit of breeding action in this tank as well. And of course, Mega Tank 2, the rummy nose population looking a lot healthier now. That's much more like what I wanted. Again, love this tank, loads going on all the time. It's always something to see. For instance, we have some breeding action. This is one of the things I was waiting for, to see whether or not a tank this size, remember this is a 12-foot tank, get any kind of natural behaviour from the discus. That's the parents, which is a good pair. Quite often if you get a blue one with a red one, you're a bit like, oh no, we're going to have a brown fish. But that is a good pair. Now, I don't have any high hopes of survival. If nothing else, free swimmers are likely to get sucked up by the filters. But it's interesting that these fish are over this side of the tank and all the other discus are crammed over there. Now, that is a thing that will happen, as discus will claim a territory, but it seems that they're kind of fine with it because they've got so much space. So if these two just take up this 2 foot of the tank, there's another 10 feet for the rest of the discus to hang out in. And they are mostly keeping most fish away. So even the rummy noses, the other rainbow fish, Congo tetras, they're not tending to venture into this side of the tank. And it's kind of fine because they've still got a massive tank to play in. So here we are, I don't know, an hour or so later. They have really coloured up, really bright fish. So, loving that, really active, but mainly in this area. With all this tank, they're like, nope, don't care. This really cool glass over here that I've got to surf and check out. So, I mean, they have done a little bit of explorations, but the yellows are really yellow, the blues are really blue, the oranges are really oranges. It's exactly what I was after. So I'm excited to see what happens over the next few months with these guys. So there we go, my first foray, as I say, into Mbuna. I'm excited to see what happens, and if you want to follow along, make sure you click that subscribe button. We'll be doing updates over the next few months, as we do with all the tanks in here. You can see how we're all getting on with all the various tanks in the fish room. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. I'm really happy with the fish room starting to come together now and actually look half decent. Everyone's in the tanks that they should be in. There's no fish that are a bit like, oh, this isn't his forever home. We've got pretty much everything as it should be. That's to me, I'm just calling on a disaster now. But no, hopefully it will all be good. Thank you very much for joining me. Make sure you click the like button, the subscribe button, the comment button. Tell me what you think. Join me on a Friday night, 9 PM UK time. Most Fridays we do a live stream. Come along to that too. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye!